Good. Let me take this opportunity to thank you very much for exercising utmost patience with us. We had thought that we'll be able to have this press briefing earlier today. Unfortunately, due to pressing commitments of the IPC, particularly the IPC coordinator, we are unable to convene the press briefing. My name is Kenny Morolong. I'm the ANC spokesperson in the Northwest Province. I'm with the IPC coordinator, Comrade Tlhomami Chauke, who is going to read the statement of the IPC in the wake of the provincial conference, which has started and which will commence in earnest tomorrow. Comrade Chauke.
Thank you very much and good evening. Already our apologies have been conveyed by Comrade Kenny. Let me take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to read the statement of the African National Congress in the Northwest. The African National Congress in the Northwest Province wishes to confirm its readiness to hold the 9th Provincial Conference after a lengthy process of rebuilding and the renewal of the African National Congress. The complex journey towards realizing unity, renewal, and rebuilding. Even though it is incomplete, it continues to bear the requisite results. It is our collective hope that the conference will emerge with unity, cohesive, and renewal of the African National Congress in the Northwest Province. The National Executive Committee of the African National Congress appointed the leadership in the form of interim provincial committee in August 2019, which was presided by the provincial task team in 2018. The rebuilding process was a lengthy and tedious process which was primarily aiming at ensuring that the ANC forges ahead with the renewal project and fundamental change, changing the lives of our people for the better. The magnitude of the task facing the IPC was compounded by the state of our municipalities and the recent Auditor General's outcome as an indicative barometer of that challenges facing our municipalities. The rebuilding process was affected by the breakout of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which caused havoc across the globe, and our country was not spared from the ramifications brought by the pandemic in South Africa. Compounding these challenges, we had hard lockdown regulations which were meant to save the lives. As we tried to overcome the effects of the pandemic, we were immediately called upon to contest local government elections in 2021. It has been a few months since these elections, and the disputes, despite having suffered decline in electoral support, we have managed to win the majority of our municipalities in the province. Of the 23 municipalities, the ANC won 20, and the 3 Aheng municipalities with ANC-led coalition in the harm. The outcome of these elections challenges us to do better to expedite the delivery of service to our communities. We have been crisscrossing this province to prepare for more than 316 qualified branches for the provincial conference, which will be held followed by the regional conferences. We have ensured that our provincial conference does not convene with disputes and appeals unresolved. The provincial and the National Dispute Resolution Committee have concluded all dispute resolution processes, and this conference will convene without any of the disputes or appeals unresolved. The conference will, amongst others, discuss policy proposals emanating from the recent held provincial and national policy conference of the African National Congress. Registration for conference began earlier today, and it will continue until this evening. There will be no further registration of delegates after the evening. We expect over 1,200 voting and non-voting delegates. This number accounts for over 800 voting delegates, and the remainder are non-voting delegates. The conference will begin in essence tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and will conclude on Sunday. We are confident that the conference will achieve all its intended objectives. We are confident that the 9th Provincial Conference will be a resounding success for the African National Congress in the Northwest Province. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Coordinator. We are now going to allow a round of questions. If there are any questions. Are we content?
So who's going to be opening the conference tomorrow, and can you also confirm if the President will close it?
Okay.
Kuleli Chidi Jones, ANC. Are you aware about a group of disgruntled ANC members who are planning to interdict the provincial conference? How will this impact the affairs of the proceedings going forward?
Okay.
With the SAPC, I heard that you said that the rebuilding and renewal and the unity project or process has been lengthy. I'm not by any means suggesting the consensus leadership, but I mean through renewal we think that ultimately all insan who will be contesting will end up having maybe with 3 candidates contesting for leadership. Out of 4 regions, we are told there are 7 contestants that will be contesting. How then do you imagine a united province out of so many contestants? And as I said, I'm not suggesting that maybe we should come up with a consensus leadership, but I mean, I would think that after your renewal and unity, at least you will have a consensus in terms of having fewer numbers of contestants as opposed to having almost a dozen.
Thank you very much, Ndlovu. Next.
Ananias Ndlovu, Naledi News. As IPC, I know you'll be handing over Marab to the new elected delegate. So I just want to check with you as IPC, because the outstanding service providers that you owe, what about them? Including us, by the way, as media, 94,000 as community media. So what about us? What happens to that amount? Because we ran an advert for ANC in community newspapers and we're still not paid now. So what happens to us after this?
Okay. One question. Can you take the last one?
Khavalo Magola with UFM. This very media briefing took forever to happen, Kenny. I'll pause while you, so you can hear me. I'm saying this media briefing is one example of many things that you don't seem to get right, that have resulted in countless delays. How concerned are you that this is reflecting on your brand as a governing party, to say you can't even convene a meeting of your own among yourself on time and get everything running smooth? And what caused these delays?
Okay. No, thank you very much, colleagues. Let me try and deal with the last question, the final question, and I'll refer all other questions to the IPC coordinator. This morning we engaged journalists and we said to them that there's a need for them to register timelessly because we wanted to avoid a registration mayhem. Because if we had not allowed you to register on time, you would not be able to gain access to conference facilities in their different ways, registration, this facility and so on, which you will not be able to gain access to tomorrow. So part of the reasons, and there are many others, why we elected to postpone this press briefing was to allow you to register and allow you in your numbers to register, so that you do not have a journalist on the street who's supposed to be part of this conference unregistered. So we apologize, but we don't think it's a reflection on our ability to lead. We thought that it was thoughtful of us as leaders to provide space for you to register, so that you are able to report from a point of comfort rather than reporting on the street. Some of you would not have been able to be part of this program. press conferences. We, however, apologize quite profusely.
No, thank you very much. We just to follow up on Edmond, what Comrade Kenny has responded to. Correctly, we have identified key role players in terms of this conference to be registered in time, and correctly, media is one of those that we had to make sure that, I think even yourself, you know that for the first time you'll have such a wonderful, beautiful press conference for the first time in many years. We had to ready to make sure that all of you are here. But then many other stakeholders, your police people will be providing services at the center here, the civic center here. So we have prioritized all of you, even before our delegates themselves, to make sure that, because normally in many conferences you'll find that, especially journalists, are left outside most of the time. And I think it's something that we must all applaud, and as we apologize at the same, but it's something that we must applaud. Let me deal with issues of that. Obviously, the movement has challenges across, not only in the Northwest, I think even national and many other provinces of the ANC. We have challenges of resources, obviously, with plans that we have put in place, making sure that there are proper check and balances in terms of what we raise and who's helping us. This legislation now that even limits how political parties must be funded and all of that. Currently, we operate with support from our members, support from our councillors who are paying levy every month, our members of parliament, MECs, premiers, and everybody, they pay levies. And these levies, obviously, we use them to pay for salaries and programs of the African National Congress out of that, because we don't have a direct funder. We don't run ANC as a business, so we don't make any profit. So it's a challenge, but I think as we move forward, together with National, we'll find a solution to help the party how it can really raise money and continue relying on its members. In terms of debts, we have been paying debts as far as before the IPC was even established in the Northwest. You know that there's another debt that we're dealing with, including our account, a community radio station that it's part of the debts that we have to settle. The incoming IPEC will take responsibility, because when we leave office, we'll hand over a report in terms of the work done, and in that report again, we'll identify areas that need to be attended by the incoming PEC, and so those areas will include the monies that we owe to some of the service providers in the province here. Now, on issues of who's going to attend a conference and address, in a normal practice of the African National Congress and the deployment, therefore, of conferences, we currently being informed that the NEC, especially the officials, are the ones that get deployed, and we can confirm, because the Deputy President will be opening our conference, and we are very excited, by the way, to have the Deputy President opening our conference. And I think as time goes, we'll inform you who's going to close our provincial conference, but the Deputy President will be here to address delegates, including membership of the African National Congress, supporters of the African National Congress, and communities in the Northwest. We're really looking forward to welcome and to host him. The issue of leadership and 7 candidates. You see, one of the things that we try and do was to kill the slate politics, where you find a group, one group and another group. This time around, we have allowed a process. And all of these comrades who have raised their hands are comrades who knows that they've been nominated by branches of the ANC. They are nominated by branches of the ANC and they are available. And there's nothing wrong to be available. Rather than to organize in a slate form where a group of comrades will sit, discuss without giving the opportunity to the branch. Sit and discuss who's going to be the chair, who's going to be the secretary, who's going to be the whatever. And deny an ordinary branch of the ANC to express itself. That is why the results of 7. But at conference, obvious delegates, as they interact, engage, they will come up with a solution. They will come up with those that they believe will lead the African National Congress in the province, right? So part of renewal was to kill all of this late politics in the province. That is why you can look at some of these identified so-called ready-to-lead candidates. You don't see any other people around them because they all know that they come from a nomination that either they've observed, either the branch has called them to say, are you available, want to nominate you for a particular position, and they say they avail themselves because any member of the ANC has the right to stand and to be elected and to campaign for himself or herself, right? So the renewal will give us these results. You saw it in KZN at some point before conference, there were about 5 groupings there. Why do we have a problem here with the 7 individuals, not even groups? Here it's individuals who are standing. In other areas you saw a slate concluded. So here we are saying that the African National Congress, branches of the ANC must express themselves. And I think these are the results, but the outcome is going to be an outcome that is going to give you a collective leadership coming from ordinary branches of the African National Congress without any other influence. And we are trying to discourage any slate form in the province. That comrades, either those ones to contest, they must say so openly, but allow branches of the ANC. Because branches of the ANC for many years are not or were not given this opportunity most of the time. Because there will be those who have money, they will use money to mobilize delegates for a particular grouping. And that does not even help in terms of branches of the ANC reflecting on a leadership quality that will be able to deliver service to our people. Water, roads, electricity, unemployment, youth unemployment. So branches of the ANC begins to look at these issues now, rather than operate in a slate form where a group decides that we are better off and therefore we will be leading. If you look at the history of the Northwest, even before the Northwest, from the Western Transvaal, you'll know that there's never been time where we have much stability. There's been challenges all the time. That is why today we're at the IPC. There have been other PTTs, interim structures, dating back as early as 1991, immediately after the establishment of the African National Congress. We have had challenges in terms of unity and cohesion of the province. That is why national, most of the time, keep on coming, disband the structure, rebuild, disband again, rebuild, disband again. And we believe that the work that we have done now, obviously the foundation that will lay, and we believe that it can be something that can stand for many, many years in terms of stability of the ANC to fulfill its mandate to change the lives of our people. And this IPC mandate, I think, in terms of what the ANC has given us, we are delivering in terms of that. We have tried to minimize tensions in the province. In terms of the court case, that agent court application, we are aware of that and we are opposing that matter. And the matter, I think, it was sitting now at 4 o'clock. Obviously, it's a matter of a comrade whose branch has not even qualified to come to conference. So it's a non-starter, by the way, to deal with that part because he's not affected by anything of this conference in terms of guidelines, in terms of who attend conference and which branch qualified for conference, right? So it's a non-starter in terms of that. And the matter, I think, it's been dealt with. I don't want to go deeper into that until I get the conclusion as to how they've resolved this matter. But the IPC is on course, and definitely the cleaning up and rebuilding of branches of things. The 316 was not easy. It took us, with all the interventions I've spoken about, of COVID, of local government elections. When we started, there was not a single branch of the ANC that was alive. We had to start afresh to build these branches. And then now the most important part is the quality of cadres that we produce from these branches. The caliber of membership that we must have in these branches. There's a program of political education that the incoming PC must focus on it. Train these members of the ANC to understand and to know what is the ANC, the aims and objectives of the ANC, the principles of the ANC. So that is what we're trying to do, and that's a mandate that we have been given, and we believe that this conference is part of what the IPC has achieved in terms of its mandate by the ANC. Thank you very much.
Maybe before I allow for the second round, the evolution of the ANC is something that must be embraced, because the ANC is a dynamic organization. And I'm saying this because the fact that there are 7 or so contestants does not necessarily mean that the ANC is divided, extremely divided in the Northwest Province. It's not born out of fact. It's not scientific. I mean, if you look at the ANC, the previous conferences, there were 2, or even in one instance, the candidate who emerged unopposed. But the divisions persisted, with 2 candidates contesting each other for chair and 2 for the remainder of positions. Those divisions persisted. For me, this is the beauty of our internal democratic process at play. Members of the ANC contesting each other because they are committed to rebuilding and renewing the ANC. And all of them have said in their 4 or 5 candidates have said, we are raising our hand because we think we can do better to renew the ANC. So I don't think that it's a reflection of divisions, because if it is, then we must juxtapose it against instances where there were less contests and what those contests produced. Can we get a round of questions?
Okay. Yes, out of the 316 branches that are qualified for this conference, how many have been disqualified? There's 1 member in core whose branch has been disqualified. So how many branches have been disqualified?
Can we get another question?
Just confirmation from Mr. Chauke that he himself is a candidate.
Well, what's happening with you today? What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Okay.
And maybe the IPC, its term is coming to an end immediately after this or beyond this conference. But I mean, you said that you've managed to build branches from scratch. At some point, you were not viable. You took over. When you leave, are you confident that you live in the ANC in a better state or better off than it was when you took over? And looking at governance in the province, I would imagine the ANC is governing this province. And if the ANC is in a better shape, that will transcend into its governance in the province. Are you confident that as you step up, as the ANC, you indirectly govern as the IPC in terms of your degrees? Are you happy at the state of affairs in terms of governance in the province?
Now I can respond. Okay.
I heard you saying you confidently so that the conference will commence tomorrow at 9 o'clock. But given experience from other provinces where their conferences were delayed, what assurance are you giving to the public out there and even to your members and delegates that given what transpired today in terms of the delays, registration, just convening a press conference, what assurance are you giving that the conference will indeed start on time tomorrow, given what happened to other provinces, and also given the fact that this province is deeply factionalized and divided. And obviously there are people that are not happy about what is happening. And the other question, coupled to my question is, you see when you come here to Civic Center and even at Olympia Stadium, where registration is actually happening, there's high contingent of police, private security personnel. Are you sensing something in terms of what might happen? Because since I'm covering the conference of the ANC in the Northwest, I've never seen such a high number of security personnel. You know, Camilo and I yourself, when we were in Sun City, when we invaded there was no such security.
Okay, Robert. So maybe let me start with that. This one. Obviously, police, in terms of their deployment, I would not want to comment as to why, but we're engaging with them. We have tried to minimize what we call threats in terms of convening conference. And one of those things that we have done was to allow every member of the ANC who has attended the BBGM process, who was not happy of any outcome, to lodge a dispute in the branch or in the province or the national. In this 316, that's why we had 112 of disputes that were processed. Some of them were, just for the sake of putting a dispute, some of them were tenant disputes. But we cleared that. Same applies with the appeals. Comrades who received the verdict from the Provincial Dispute Resolution Committee, they were given an opportunity again to appeal nationally. And we believe that this exercise was meant to minimize so that by the time conference sit, that's why today we have this one person who went for agent court application and challenged the voting of the PEC or IPC. Not even the process of conference, that the IPC must not vote because it's an interim strategy. Spend 150 application, go to court that this IPC must not vote, because there are no issues. There are no issues. We believe very strongly, reading to that, we will not find pickets here. Because someone will have to give us a reason. Who picket up from what? Because everyone was given, those postponements, the conference, were meant to accommodate any person as part of our renewal and repeating process. Because these are things that in fact disrupt conferences most of the time. Right? So we have allowed everybody. When police are here, security is here, in fact they've even cut security. I don't know, in terms of our arrangement, I don't want to disclose it, but I think we're very happy that we don't see any much of a threat in terms of this conference. We are not divided. There are still elements, obvious, that we still have to rein them in. There are still pockets of individuals who sometimes just go to the tool house there, raise placards there, pay taxis, come back here, and nothing again, because we are uniting everybody. And it's going to take time, but we'll end up, I think even the incoming IPC, the PC, will be able, in fact, to continue with the work. That's why we emphasize the point of political education for members. It's very important for members to know why they join the ANC, why they're members of the ANC, what does the ANC stand for. Governance, yes, is a challenge. We are not happy about the state of affairs. I mean, one person, myself, and the entire IPC, when we deal with issues of water, I think I'm on record. We are every day to a point that we even get resistance sometimes in terms of members that we have deployed in government when we are pushing them to carry the mandate of the African National Congress. Those who want to put their fingers into a cookie jar and steal from the public. Corruption is one of those things that we are worried about. And we will continue side by side with our communities to fight this corruption. Because for people to defy the organization and to fail to provide services, nothing else but their selfish personal interest comes first than the people. And that's a challenge that the ANC is faced with in this province. And we must continue to strengthen our caucuses of municipalities to understand. For the first time, we have more young people. This audit, in fact, that we are dealing with, the new councillors that have just started in December, is not much of their work. And we believe that these young cadres that we have now deployed in local government will make a difference. Young, energetic, militant, ready to deliver service to our people. And that's a message we are saying to these young people that we have now delivered in council, who are not ambitious for anything else but to deliver service to our people. The ANC and its mission to change the lives of our people. Each member of the ANC who is deployed in government is to carry that manifesto of the African National Congress, implement it to the latter. Right? So you know that Section 100 in the provincial government, it has just ended. Government has now appointed a number of HODs and they continue to appoint a cleanup. There are a number of criminal cases that are being processed by the Hawks and other agencies that are dealing with these matters. So we believe that the start of intervention, in fact, Section 100 has helped the provincial government too. From the previous system that we know, that is why the IPC was put in place. That is why the PEC then was dissolved, because it failed to give leadership and to command and to help guide those that we have deployed in government. So we're trying that with serious challenges, obvious, but I think it's something that we can't give up. And I believe that the ANC will win to bring about stability in government. But again, it's not only the problem of those that are deployed. Again, is the kind of administrators that we put there. Some of them not even qualified, right? They defraud the system to the point that you have, in some areas, you'll find that there are 3-month managers fighting for something else except to put their fingers into the cookie jar. That these are challenges that we are confronted with. But none of them, I've never come across anyone that fight and say, I'm fighting because I'm in this group of people who are fighting to go and deliver service as administrators. They are always fighting for something else, not in the best interest of our people moving forward. In terms of branches, we will not want to deal now with credentials, but I think correctly we have met the threshold in terms of the conference mandate to hold the conference as required. The 316 branches that we have established, those who have been disqualified, I think it's part of the credentials that we'll report at plenary when we present the credentials. So we'll not deal with that now because it's a process that is still an internal process. But I think after we have read the credentials, I think we'll make them public for everybody to know. In terms of, I think the last one is candidates. We're done, I think.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done. Okay. There are 288 branches that will be participating tomorrow. Of the 316 that qualified. But as the coordinator has correctly said, these are numbers that will be presented to plenary during credentials, and plenary will ventilate on these numbers and express itself. And we are confident that the credentials will be duly adopted. Any other question?
Last one for me. Yeah, Mr. Chauke. If you become just honest to yourself and maybe to us here, when you came here in the Northwest, are you really happy? Can you sleep at night, saying I took Northwest here and put it there? Are you happy with the job you did since you came here in the province? Okay. And the word says you are standing. So if you are standing, are you not happy with other things that you want to correct if you are coming in again?
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Sorry, from Africa. You said that the Deputy President will be opening the conference tomorrow. Can you confirm time on when that will be? What time exactly will it be? Also, the registration of delegates, is it expected to be done tomorrow? Are you also going to see delay in terms of the official opening of the conference as a result of that process of registration of delegates?
Okay. No, look, okay.
One more question. Okay, Tawamulu on the Power FM News. I just wanted to check on there was a dispute that was raised by some of the councillors immediately after the local government elections. The matter went to court. I remember we had numerous interviews with you on record saying that the ANC in the Northwest will definitely implement the decision by the High Court, the Mahikeng High Court, particularly on those disputes that were raised by councillors. I'm not sure the exact number of the councillors that raised those disputes. So I just wanted to check in terms of that issue, how far are you as the ANC in the Northwest, and what's the current status now?
No, thank you very much. Let me start with the first one. That says that since you came to the Northwest, you know when did I came here? Okay, let me tell you that, let me clarify this thing. I was born in Soweto, in a place called White City, Jabavu, many years ago. I grew up in a small town called Swartrachens when I was 16 years old. Swartrachens is 50 kilometers away from me. I can't tell you my age, but I'm very old now. So I did not come to the Northwest now. We started the Northwest.
As IPC chair.
You said since you came to the Northwest.
As IPC
I've never came to the Northwest. So you must be clear what you say. You must say as IPC chair. Because there's this narrative that Chauke must go to Guyana. So we want to follow that one. I'll explain to you that one. I'll take your head on that one. Hey, this one is Chagani must go to Guyana. I grew up here. I've worked and lived here. This young man here, I used to carry this one. Young as he was like 18 years in the Masupatsela, battalion of young people of the ANC. So I used to carry him. So I did not come yesterday. These new ones who don't know Chauke, they think that he just come from Guyana, the ticket for the Northwest. No, it's not true. No. I think that we have already explained that we are not happy to say that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve only by conference. No, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot to be done to build a formidable ANC. And once we have a strong ANC, we can deliver services to our people. The ANC that will make sure that there's accountability. Government, starting with the council of the ANC, is accountable to the party and to the community. A government that respects the people. Government that provides services to the people. So we still have those sleepless nights. And it's correctly. I wake up at night and think of people in Tatlaganyang who don't have water for the last month. People in Silamulong who don't have water. And we go, we talk to government, we even call water boards. As the party intervening. Because this is one thing that makes the ANC. To change the lives of our people. The rest in terms of disputes, the ANC and the Halema Mutlante Commission, Elections Commission, we have identified some of the challenges in terms of interference that has happened in the nomination of councillors and interference in the list process. That is why this time around we don't want to make a mistake. That's why we have gone, even now as we speak, we are verifying every delegate. We don't want the Bugas delegate to come here. Until such time that we are satisfied, we are cleaning up the system to make sure that every delegate that comes to this conference is mandated by that branch that it comes from, he or she. So this renewal is painful, it's not easy. And we are going to be patient. Sometimes we'll start late in terms of conference and what, but we need to understand that we are in a particular different environment of cleaning up this process. One mistake that we do to to allow individual delegates who are not mandated by branches. That's the beginning of corruption again. Then there will be another task team, as the National has now set up a team to come and investigate those what you call list processes, how they were dealt with and all of that. Because in between that, you still have this element of people who will receive a sealed process of a branch as they are driving to deliver it where they must deposit it, open it on the road and then interfere with the process. And the branch knows that, now we have elected this person. And when that is deposited, we will not know until such time that the branch see a different result and they start to raise issues. There are those individuals. That's why I want to investigate and get them. So that we charge them, we discipline them, charge them. If we have to fire them from the party, we must fire them because they are rotten people who are damaging the name of the African National Congress. Okay. The last one, Kim.
Yeah, maybe before we respond to the last question about the program for tomorrow, if you were to ask us what is our biggest milestone, I would invite you to come to conference tomorrow and look at those delegates. And I will guarantee you that assembled in that conference are genuine ANC delegates from branches. This used to be a hub of gatekeeping, where rank and file members of the ANC were deprived of an opportunity to take part in the life of their own movement. We are confident that the Deputy President tomorrow will not address bogus delegates. That we've been able to use the new membership system as a necessary tool to deal with gatekeeping in the movement. So the best milestone ever, the best gift we could have ever given to members of the ANC was to ensure that we build credible branches of the ANC. And I think the dispute resolution process by far has helped us to expose those who are chancers, because there will always be those who take chances, who will try and circumvent democratic processes in the organization and arrogate themselves the position of leadership of the ANC, leadership that was not elected. So this is our biggest achievement by far. And we think that we will turn the ANC to the people. With respect to the program, colleagues, we will circulate the program. We will advise you, which will explicitly indicate when the Deputy President will address conference. So you and us will keep in touch. We have got a WhatsApp group where we interface and exchange views. So let's do that. We will finish with the requisite information. I think this marks the end of our press briefing. Thank you very much for your presence. We look forward to a continued engagement.